The gas station on your corner makes almost nothing selling gas. Some nights, it loses money on every single gallon, and yet there are more than 150,000 of them across America, glowing on every corner, open all night. That makes no sense until you realize the gas was never the point. Picture it. It's late, your tank's on empty, you swipe your card and watch the numbers climb. $40, $45, and on that entire tank, the station you're standing at keeps maybe $1. Some fill-ups, nothing at all. So why is it there? Why are they everywhere? Because the pump is bait. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you the machine hiding behind it, and why the cheap cup of soda in the back is worth more to them than the $40 you just pumped. After this, you'll never look at that glowing price sign the same way again. Start with the pump itself, because the numbers are wild. When you buy a gallon of gas, the station isn't paying the price on the sign and pocketing the difference. Most of what you hand over isn't even theirs. A big chunk is tax. A big chunk is the wholesale cost of the fuel, which the station has almost no control over. It's set by refiners and global markets. What's left, the retailer's gross markup, has averaged somewhere around 35 to 40 cents a gallon in recent years. 35 cents. That sounds okay until you start subtracting. Out of that markup comes the cost of trucking the fuel in, the cost of running the lights and the pumps and the canopy, a little for the equipment wearing out, a little for evaporation and spillage. And then the big one, the one that quietly eats the whole business, the credit card fee. Every time you tap or swipe at the pump, the card networks take a cut. And on gas, that cut has been running around 8 cents a gallon. Think about that. Of the roughly 35 cents the station makes on a gallon, 8 of them go straight to Visa and MasterCard before the owner sees a dime. Add all of it up, and the station is left with maybe 10 to 15 cents of pre-tax profit on a gallon. On a 12-gallon fill-up, that's $1 or $2. On a bad week, when the wholesale price spikes faster than they can raise the sign, they lose money on every gallon they sell. This is why, have you noticed? So many stations now beg you to pay cash. Cash price and credit price, a few cents apart, right there on the sign. That gap is the swipe fee. On some fill-ups, the credit card company makes more money on your gas than the gas station does. Across the whole industry, those swipe fees add up to something north of $20 billion a year, one of the single biggest costs these stores have. And it goes to a company that never pumped a drop of fuel. And look at how the price is written. It always ends the same way. 9 9/10 cents. A fraction of a penny you can't even pay in exact change. That's a leftover from a tax fight almost 100 years ago that stations simply never let go of because $3.29 9/10 reads as $3.29 in your brain, not $3.30. Even the number on the sign is a tiny piece of theater. So sit with that. The thing on the giant, glowing, $100,000 sign, the thing they light up and put in numbers 3 feet tall, is the thing they barely profit on, sometimes don't profit on at all, which raises the obvious question. Then why sell it? Because the pump isn't the product, the pump is the magnet. Walk 20 feet from where you're standing, through those glass doors, and you're in the real business. The convenience store. That little building behind the fuel is where the money lives. And once you see the margins, the whole thing makes sense. Across the industry, fuel is around 65% of a store's total sales, the biggest number on the page. But it's under 40% of the gross profit. The inside of the store is a fraction of the sales and the majority of the money. The gas fills the parking lot, the store empties your wallet, and nothing inside empties it quite like the fountain. That giant soda machine, the one where you fill your own cup, a large fountain drink might sell for $1.79, $2. The syrup and the ice and the cup cost the store maybe a quarter, often less. The gross margin on fountain drinks runs around 85%. 85. There is almost nothing else in American retail that prints money like a self-serve soda machine. Then there's coffee, running anywhere from 35 to 60% margins. The roller grill, those hot dogs and taquitos rotating under the heat lamp, some of them since this morning, that's prepared food. And prepared food averages something like 55%. This whole category, food service, is the crown jewel. It's only around 29% of what the store sells inside, but it's close to 40% of the inside profit. A cup of coffee, a soda, a hot dog. That's the business. The gas was just the reason you were in the neighborhood. If you want to see this taken to its absolute extreme, look at a chain like Buc-ee's. Cathedral-sized stores in the middle of nowhere, with 50, 60 pumps out front. And people don't drive hours to them for cheap gas. They drive for the brisket sandwiches, the fresh fudge, the walls of snacks and jerky. Nobody road trips to a Buc-ee's for the fuel. The fuel is the excuse. The food is the destination. They just understood the trick earlier and built the entire building around it. Now, here's where it gets clever, because there's a second layer of bait. Inside the bait, look at what's behind the counter and locked in the case. Cigarettes and lottery tickets. And on pure margin, those are terrible. Cigarettes make maybe 10 to 15%. The lottery is even worse for the store. Often just a few percent, sometimes barely 1 or 2. The state keeps almost everything. So why does every gas station on Earth dedicate the best real estate in the building, the wall right behind the cashier, to two of the lowest margin things they sell? Because they're traffic drivers. The person who stops in every single morning for a pack of cigarettes, or every Friday for their lottery tickets, is a person who is now standing inside the store. And while they wait, they grab a coffee, a soda, a candy bar, a bag of chips. The low-margin habit walks them in the door, and the high-margin impulse buy is what they leave with. It's the same trick as the pump, just one layer deeper. The cheap thing exists to sell you the profitable thing. The whole store is a series of nested hooks, and every one of them is designed to route you past the 85% soda. Even the layout is a trap. The drinks are always at the very back. Ever notice that? You came in for one bottle of water, and to get it you have to walk past the snacks, the candy, the hot food, the whole glowing wall of impulse. That is not an accident. That is engineering. And the price sign out front? The wars you see on busy corners, where two stations across the street undercut each other by 2 cents? That's not really a gas war. It's a marketing budget. They will happily make nothing on the fuel to win the busiest corner, because whoever fills the most tanks fills the most parking spots, and the parking spots feed the store. Now let's zoom out, because the scale of this is genuinely staggering. There are around 152,000 convenience stores in the United States. About 120,000 of them sell fuel. Together, they sell roughly 80% of all the gasoline bought in this country. This is not a side industry. This is how America fuels itself. And here's the part people get wrong. It's not all giant chains. More than 60% of these stores are single store operators. One location. Often a family. The person who sold you that soda might own the whole place. And after labor, rent, utilities, insurance, shrinkage, and those brutal card fees, a typical single store keeps around 5% at the bottom line. A razor-thin business, held together by dimes on gallons and 85-cent margins on soda. For decades, that machine ran beautifully. Cheap gas pulls the car in. The human gets out. The human gets thirsty. The store wins. Over and over, 150,000 times a day. But that machine has one fatal assumption baked into it, and it's cracking. The whole model depends on you getting out of your car. Every dollar of that high-margin inside business starts with one thing: the trip. You have to physically stop, park, and walk through those doors for any of it to happen. The gas is the reason for the trip. The store is the payoff. No trip, no payoff. Now think about what an electric car does to that. You don't stop at a gas station. You plug in at home overnight, or you charge at a station where you sit in your car for 20-30 minutes. The forced little visit, the 3-minute fill-up, that walks you right past the roller grill, it just disappears, and you can already see it in the numbers. Total fuel revenue at these stores actually fell in a recent year, and drivers are making fewer trips to the pump as cars get more efficient and prices swing around. Electric vehicles are the fastest growing corner of the entire car market. And every single one that replaces a gas car is one more driver who never pulls in, never gets out, and never walks past the 85% soda. It's not that the gas stops selling. It's that the trip stops happening. And the trip was the whole business. The industry knows exactly what's coming. There is no world where convenience stores charge 80% of the country's electricity the way they pump 80% of its gas. The forecourt trip, the entire foundation of the business, is slowly being switched off. So, what does a smart gas station do when the bait stops working? It stops being a gas station. Watch what the winners are already doing. The Wawas, the Sheetz, the Buc-ees of the world. They've quietly turned into restaurants that happen to sell fuel, made-to-order food, sit-down areas, coffee bars, whole menus. They are leaning as hard as they can into the one part of the business the electric car can't kill: the food, the drink, the reason to come inside on purpose. They're bolting on car washes with monthly subscriptions. That quiet, recurring, forget-to-cancel revenue that's one of the most profitable things in all of retail. And here's the twist. They're installing the EV chargers themselves. Because if you have to sit there for 25 minutes while your car charges, that is not a threat. That is the longest anyone has ever been stuck at their store. plenty of time to buy a coffee, a sandwich, and a snack you didn't plan on. The pump is dying. So they're rebuilding the whole place around the only thing that ever actually made money, getting you inside and walking you past the good stuff. So here's the real lesson. And like always, it's so much bigger than gas stations. The thing on the giant glowing sign is almost never the thing that makes the money. The gas was a magnet. The cigarettes were a magnet. The 2-cent price war was a magnet. Every big, loud, obvious thing out front existed for one reason: to get you to walk past the quiet, unglamorous 85% cup of soda in the back. Next time you stop for gas, watch what actually happens. You came for the fuel. But notice what's in your hand when you walk back out to the car. The drink, the snack, the coffee you didn't need. That was the plan the entire time. The gas was never the product. You were